All right, welcome back to Sunny Side Up. Today, we have my friend Johnny. Johnny, how's it going today?
Oh, man. I'm doing fine.
Yeah. Well, thank you for being up. Do you normally get up this early?
No.
No? Okay.
No. The mornings is when I tend to be a little bit less filtered, too, so that's why I had to go over the ground rules, because I'm usually, still shaking one off, kind of.
Fair enough. I'd say a lot of people, they're like, you do this how early? No thanks. There have been times because I've had to because I'm very hard about this has to be done Saturday morning early as possible, right? Sometimes if I'm doing this by myself, I will literally just crawl out of bed, turn on the coffee machine and come straight here. And this is the first thing I do in the morning. I've tried to get away from that because I realized my voice does not sound as great when I haven't warmed it up in the morning. But there have also been times where I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I'm leaving. I got to leave at 4 a.m. for a road trip or a flight or something. And I've done this podcast at 2 a.m. It has been,
With a guest or alone?
Alone. Yeah. No, I couldn't imagine anyone getting up at 2 a.m. to do this podcast with me. I mean, if someone out there wants to do it, I'll do it. But, yeah. Thanks for being up early. Like I said, I have to do this. First thing Saturday morning. This is my Saturday morning routine. So, Johnny is the only person here in my life, actually, that appreciates movies in the same way that I do. And John, I don't think I've ever told you this, but that's something I really appreciate about you and all these years I've known you is that you like the weird and the different movies that other people don't like. And you came to visit me in, you didn't come to visit me, but you stopped by and saw me when you were in Moscow, and we watched this really weird 1950s outer space vampire movie. Energy Vampires is what it was. Do you remember that?
Yeah, what was it called?
Oh, God, probably... I don't know.
Well, I remember they called them zombies.
Yeah, they were called zombies.
That didn't exactly seem accurate.
They were called zombies, but they were energy vampires. I think it might have been early and the word zombies being in kind of the general zeitgeist, and so they probably just wanted to use that for it. Whatever. I liked the movie. Faith and her mom did not enjoy the movie, but we liked it, right? You liked it?
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah, I love terrible movies, man. Yeah, so that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about terrible and bad movies that most people don't like, but we really do. Do you have 2 phones?
Yeah, Johnny 2 phones.
Oh, my God.
One's Android, one's Apple.
Oh, why?
Master of all, beholden to none.
Oh, God. Do you pay for 2 phone lines, too, then?
One's on a plan with my father.
Nice.
And anytime he's like, well, why don't I kick you off this since you already have a phone? It's actually, since this one's the iPhone, he can track my location, and I give him my location.
Sure.
A little awkward when your boss is your father, though.
Yeah.
Because normally your boss can't tell that you're still in bed.
Yeah.
Or, it's time for you to be at work and you're not even at your home. You're in a further away city. And, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but if you take me off the plan, then, you won't be able to do that and see where I'm at, whether it's during work or...
Yeah, I love that your dad wants to keep you on the phone plan just to watch where you are.
That's how I entice him with it. Also, there's the contract on the phone, but...
yeah.
No, I don't know. And then the other one, our friend B-Rad is on a plan with me for the other one. Because I used to sell phones for a job. It was selling phones for Sprint, Verizon, AT&T. But I was able to start a plan for half off, basically.
Okay, yeah.
And so it was and I already had a device. It was going to be $50 a month to me to have a second phone. And it helps in sales when... at least in that market, when you use them both.
Yeah.
Because people be like, oh, you have an iPhone? I don't want to buy anything from you. Oh, you have an Android? I don't want to buy anything from you. I only use iPhones. And just whip out the second one and be like, no. Let's get back to the conversation here.
I almost added a second phone to my line last month purely so that I could, because Verizon was like, oh, we'll give you free mobile data for a year if you put it on a second phone. I was like, ooh. And I literally only wanted it so I could play Xbox games on the go and then still have my regular phone.
Free mobile data.
Yeah.
Isn't that already a thing?
Like basically the line would just be free for a year.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Free number, free setup, all that stuff.
So service.
Yeah. So, anyways, what was your first like cult film or first like super weird movie? Do you remember?
First super weird film. Not necessarily like what the first obscure film would have been, because it all sort of, it began at one point and then just continued. Just because I have access to a website which shall not be named explicitly. But it's pretty sweet because it just pulls from everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like closed membership referral.
Oh, I know
only.
which one you're talking about.
Yeah, and
You
I've
gotta be
never
invited in, and only so many people get in per month or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I haven't opened up the membership in like a year or two.
Oh, really? Okay.
Mm-hmm. And as soon as they did open up the membership, I had someone else get onto it. Keep in mind, I wasn't paying for the first account, but then I had access to a second. Now I think I have a third rat hole just in case, because if someone changes their password.
Yeah.
Well, this has been like a cornerstone of my life ever since I started using it, and so if I ever lost access to it, like it was panic mode, because there goes my movies, and that was something I do a lot. I actually really enjoy getting drunk and watching movies.
I do have a very early memory of seeing my first like cult film, and it's just like I only remembered like like when I started really getting into cult films. This memory popped up in my head, and I only remember a few bits of it. But the movie's called Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Have you seen it?
I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Oh man, this film is wild. It's exactly like it sounds. These like killer aliens come in from outer space, and they're all dressed like clowns at a carnival, and they're like kidnapping everyone in town. And I seem to remember putting them, like all the townspeople are getting put in these like cocoons or like these like pods on the spaceships. And I think it's 88 or 89. I think is when this movie came out. So good. I rewatched it a few years ago just to like try to like bring back some of those memories from when I watched it, because I was really young and my mom didn't let me watch horror movies ever when I was growing up. My mom was very like protective of me in that space. So this movie was something I like snuck out and watched on TV way like early 2000s. Anyways, that was my first one, and
I feel like that's a movie I've seen on like the not the DVR, but like the old school cable setup with like the guide.
That's
and
exactly how I watched it.
I feel like I've seen it, like on one of those, and I could be like, "What the heck is that? I'm not watching that."
Yeah, and I think I just remember the movie being so weird, and like it made me interested because it just wasn't like anything else I had saw or seen at that time. But the movie that really got me into the cult classics and made me really like, oh man, I like cult movies. I like these weird, odd ones, was Tropic Thunder. That was the movie that really got me into weird stuff.
I don't know if I'd call that a cult film.
You don't think so?
It's an anomaly, to be sure.
I think it's
Blackface Robert Downey Jr.
borderline too popular to be a cult film. But I like to rope it in because when you bring it up in conversation, most people go, "Oh, that's a shit movie. I don't like that," or "I've never heard of it," or something. Do you know what movie you like? Oh, I like weird movies.
Well, I mean, I watched A Clockwork Orange when I was in high school, and I don't even remember where exactly. Like, if I had bought the DVD, rented the DVD, how I even heard about it. I can't really remember. But after I watched it, if you haven't seen A Clockwork Orange, it's got like underlying, themes and elements of like of like censorship and things like that, but it's also just kind of jarring, and I still think about it. I'm actually thinking about getting my second tattoo of like a simplified version of what Alex looks like with the face paint or with the eye makeup, or maybe something complicated. I don't know, but I'm thinking I might do that. I only have one tattoo currently, and it's an ass tat. Specifically an ass hat tattoo.
Ah, nice.
Family tattoo. They've all got it. The whole family's got it. And then after I watched it, I for some reason went and read the book as well. Mm-hmm. And the book was very interesting because in the film there's like a lot of monologues and stuff, and it can be kind of hard to follow.
Sure.
I always hate that in movies if I don't have subtitles.
Oh yeah, I'm a subtitles on all the time kind of guy.
I've converted my girlfriend even. Yeah,
nice.
It's the way to live. Mm-hmm. I gotta know what they're saying.
Yeah.
And the book is written in. It's written in English, but there's also like an invented language per se in it, which is called Nadsat, and it's like an English. It's a combination of English and Russian slang, and like by English I mean like UK English and Russian slang, and it's only like very odd words that are used interchangeably throughout the book, and only sometimes does it directly tell you what the word means. A lot of times you have to put it together through context. When I got and at some point I got Fonzie to read the book. And even my sister, who was in prison at the time, I sent her a copy of the book with a printed out glossary, more or less.
Yeah.
But the language is like really, it's like violent words. So Fonzie and I came up with a sentence of like the most words possible that we could string together in one sentence of Nadsat. And it's like, I'll chuck you real horror show and scory in the rot until Kravi is dripping from your goobers and you're crying like a Malenki Batista. And when some of these words come up in the monologues during the movie, it just sounds like gibberish or nonsense.
Sure.
And you just brush past it because you're still trying to understand what he's saying. But when you're reading the book, like, it's kind of weird. And so what that sentence basically translates to is, I'll punch you real hard and fast in the mouth until blood is dripping from your teeth and you're crying like a little boy. It's a violent language.
Yeah, no, I mean
it's a violent movie.
It's a very violent movie. Have you ever looked up like top 100 cult classic films or anything like that?
I mean, like a BuzzFeed list?
Well, the one I was thinking of...
Who do you let curate that list,
They're awful. They're always terrible lists. But IMDb's, like, top 100, they're all, like... I think 90 of the 100 movies they list are all, like, super violent, like, rated R or, like, unrated because it's so violent kind of thing. And I'm like,
for sure.
Why I don't understand IMDb's thought process there of like cult films have to be violent, which I don't think is the case at all. I don't think they have to be these super gory films. But it seems like the internet kind of feels that way. And I'm like, I don't think that's accurate.
I guess it would probably boil down to the definition of cult. Like I was mentioned to you last night, like, what do you mean cult? 'Cause I'm not sure if cult necessarily translates to it didn't do well in the box office, but people are still talking about it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of like a lot of people's definition of cult films.
Or if it's translates to weird.
Yeah. I think for me, my definition falls somewhere like in the middle of like, usually didn't do well in the box office, but that's not if it did, it's not necessarily to say that it's not like it can't be on the list. It's like weird, almost niche movies that have a highly devoted. I think that was probably Faith's iPad. Has a super niche following or it's a niche movie with like a hardcore following of people who are like obsessed with this movie and think it's like really, really good and continue to talk about it like decades after it releases. I think for me, that's how I would define a cult film.
Well, and I would also proffer maybe even a third stipulation, maybe of hard to get a hold of, especially in this day and age too.
Yeah,
it's a whole different beast because of with how digitized things are. It makes it easier to regulate the licensing and things of that that nature. So it'll be on Netflix one day, it'll be on Prime the next week, whatever.
If it's on any streaming service at all,
which is where my tool is the GOAT, because once it's on there, it doesn't usually leave. Although I do know of one film that I don't think is on there anymore, and I'm a little bit bummed that I didn't finish it while I had the chance. Also starring Malcolm McDowell from A Clockwork Orange. It's called Caligula, if you've ever heard of it. It's I wouldn't call it a softcore porn, because it's made by Penthouse.
Okay.
Penthouse magazine, for those unfamiliar. And it's Caligula, the Roman emperor, but there's just like nudity all over the place. I mean, there's literally a scene where it's men defiling a bowl in front of this queen lady.
Wow.
You know. I think that was where I turned it off the first time. I was just like, okay, this is too much. But the whole thing was very, very racy and inappropriate. And I mean, I don't even know, short of like finding just a straight up DVD, I don't know where this could even play digitally, legally, without being considered porn, especially with the porn laws that are coming in now.
Yeah. You were talking about movies that are like hard to find, you won't ever find on streaming services. I find a lot of those, like especially from like the early 2000s, like stoner flicks. They seem almost impossible to ever find on like major streaming services. Like one of my favorites, I'm not really sure it's a stoner flick, and I kind of consider it more of a cult film, but Accepted. You ever heard of it?
Is that the one where they like cheat to get into college?
They make a fake college. And they're like, none of us really got accepted. So they make so the main character tries to like appease his parents by creating a fake college called, I'm forgetting the name, the fake name of the college. But the movie goes through and a couple of the friends like, we created this fake college. And then something happens where other like oddballs of society start applying. They find out about it and they apply for it, and they accidentally all got accepted into it. And so they're like, now our fake college has like 100 students here. What do we do? And so they're like, I guess we start teaching each other things. And so like there's a skateboarding class. There's all these like weird kind of off classes that people would want to take in college but don't typically exist. And I almost want to say it's like New South Harmon Institute of Technology, or not. I don't think it's South Harmon. It's South something. But you were mentioned earlier about how a lot of times these movies have like that underlying like theme to it. I think Accepted is one of those movies where it's like on the surface, it's just like a fun movie to hang out and just like watch as these people like get into, some sticky situations, and they ultimately are able to like make it into a real college. But if you want, I think there's a way to watch it in which you can kind of see that it's almost a commentary on like America's education and like the issues that are like come up with it. And I think there's a lot of things about these cult films is like on the basis, at least for me, what I really like about them is that they embrace movies as an entertainment media, but they also can be watched and viewed as these underlying serious conversations or like commentaries on like social issues or social norms and stuff. And so that's one of the reasons I really like these, is because you can watch it just to hang out, but you can also watch it to pick up on these like bigger conversations that are happening underneath. And this is where some people would say it's not that deep, but I hate that. That is my big. It's quickly becoming one of my biggest pet peeves is when someone says it's not that deep. I feel like when people say that, it's like trying to devalue critical thinking. And it bothers me a lot, because it's like, no, a lot of the times things are that deep, and we need to actually look into things and consider like what is the bigger underlying issue here, and what is the conversation that needs to be had in this. And yeah, so anyways, that
like
new
that take.
term just really bugs me.
It's not that deep. You know, it's funny because where I started getting into movies is not necessarily to like extrapolate upon the themes of them as much as to understand references. I don't know when exactly, but at a certain point in my life, I started just, wanting to know, what are they talking about? And obviously, like, with the advent of Google, that became a lot easier to answer those questions. But at a certain point, it just helps to just know, or it's nice to just know exactly what they're talking about, especially when it comes to comedy. I hate not understanding a reference, and that's actually usually where I find my movies is I'll hear a reference to something and be like, what was he just talking about right there? And then I'll go look it up, find out what they're referring to, and then I'll go find the movie because I have a really good way of getting old movies that aren't exactly in syndication anymore, short of purchasing it like a DVD, like I don't know, like a random movie, like Spare Change from the 80s, which is Bill Murray is a clown is his day job and a bank robber by night, and I don't remember any specific references from that movie at this moment, but that's just an example of like an off the wall one. But like You're saying also about underlying social stuff, like sometimes I'll see maybe a meme or something and it's like a clip from a movie and I'm like, what was that? Because the meme will have its own commentary, but it's still relevant. But I'm like, what was that from? And so, like an example of that would be like Falling Down. Have you ever seen Falling Down?
No, I haven't.
It's Michael Douglas, and
Big fan.
Are you?
Yeah, I do like Michael Douglas a lot.
Nice. He lives in L.A. and his car breaks down in gridlock traffic, and then he just decides. This is the moment, and he just leaves his car in the middle of traffic and more or less goes on a rampage.
Okay.
And where I found out about that movie was from a scene where he's going into a McDonald's and he basically demands at gunpoint that, and it's not McDonald's, it's a different burger chain, whatever, but he demands at gunpoint for them to serve him breakfast after the 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock hour. It's a very, very relatable to this day.
Yeah, absolutely. The breaking down reminded me, breaking down the middle of traffic, saying, this is the moment. Have you seen Stripes? I think it's called Stripes. It's
Stripes with Bill Murray, yeah.
Yeah. He's a taxi driver, pulls up, and he's just dealing with this awful rider, and he just pulls over on the middle of a bridge, throws his keys in the river, and convinces... he's also the guy in Ghostbusters, the scientist one. Shoot. It's gonna kill me. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But he's the other main actor in that film, and they join the army, and of course hijinks ensue. Great movie. Love that movie.
That guy that you're talking to, it's on the tip of my tongue too. I keep getting so close to it. I want to say Harold. Maybe he is like he was a big movie maker, writer, producer type.
I didn't know he was also all that. Okay.
It's gonna kill me. He wrote several movies actually, and that's why he was in so many movies, because he doesn't have the standard typical actor's face. But that's how he managed to get into so many movies. Is by just making them actually and writing them. We should definitely look him up and go, just to list a couple of his movies.
Yeah.
Because I'm drawing a blank. I don't usually do mornings.
I'm pulling it up right now. It's
Ramis. Ramis, that's his last name.
Yep, Harold Ramis.
Harold Ramis.
Yeah.
I don't believe is alive any longer. And he looks a lot different when he got older.
Yeah.
So what are some of the films here?
Yeah, so he's Egon
I can
in
remember.
Ghostbusters. Russell and Stripes, like I was saying. He co-wrote those two films.
Mhm.
Also Ghostbusters 2 he co-wrote. National Lampoon's Vacation, he's the director. Groundhog Day, Analyze This, Analyze That. And he was also the co-writer on Animal House.
Yeah.
Huh.
So
and Year One?
yeah, very very prolific career.
Wrote, produced, directed, and acted in Year One. I love Year One. That is also a super weird movie.
Yeah, that's a good one. I watched that.
that's
I
funny.
think in the last year.
Oh, really? That's on my list of movies I want to rewatch. Okay, so what are some of your favorites, like, weird films?
So my favorite movie, and I feel like there's always competition to this, but it's sort of the one that sticks in my head is like, nope, I said that's my favorite at one point, so now if I'm ever like searching for it, I always say it's my, that this is it, which is a Big Trouble in Little China.
Oh yeah, good one.
I mean, you got it. Yeah, It's such a great film. You got everything in it. You got like martial arts, kung fu stuff. You got some mysticism and magic. You got comedy. You got a little bit of romance, and then the best thing of all, Kurt Russell.
Mm-hmm.
And I always tell people, my spirit animal is Kurt Russell.
Nice.
And some people, give me pushback. Say, well, you can't have a person as your spirit animal. And I say, well, it's specifically Kurt Russell from this film. And I thought about that at the scene where he, they're about to get into the big final battle, and both sides are rushing at each other. And he's just like, yeah! And he fires his machine gun up in the air, and then the roof kind of caves in. A boulder knocks him out for the majority of the big battle. And I'm like, that's me. Right there. So I've thought about getting, maybe something reminiscent of that tattoo-wise as well. I love Kurt Russell, though. And then the other one that's, like, really, though, like, my favorite film, which I only watched for the first time in recent years, and I'm sure I've already told you about it when we talked about movies back in Moscow, whenever that was, 2 years ago. Deer Hunter. Have you seen Deer Hunter?
I don't think so.
You've not seen the
I
Deer
don't think
Hunter?
so. I know.
Oh my gosh, it is my favorite movie.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it now.
It won like 10 Oscars.
Oh my god!
Like, it swept the box office. It's a young, and this is another one where I just saw a meme, and there was a clip from it. There's a reoccurring theme of Russian roulette throughout the movie, and I think it was a scene involving that. And I was like, man, that looks intense. Like, what the heck was that? And I figured it out. It's a young Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken.
Great combo.
Yeah, and Christopher Walken got a Oscar for Best Supporting Actor because he really, like, put his all into this film, and it's a very very interesting film for, like, I know a lot of the lore, and I would honestly say, like, next time I come back onto the show, we should do an episode of Skinning the Deer Hunter.
I'm down.
Something like that is what I was thinking, and I could tell you all the interesting stuff I know about it. So just you watch the film, and then we can break it down a bit more. I've watched it probably, like, no joke, 10 times now, just to show other people this movie, and it's like at least 3 hours. It might be more than 3 hours.
I love a 3-hour movie. I wish there were more movies coming out that were like that length. I hate when I see like a 90-minute runtime. I'm like, like, double it every time.
So this guy who made the movie, Michael Cimino, he kind of killed the 3-hour movie for everybody. Because after the overwhelming success of The Deer Hunter, basically he had studios lining up to offer him, like, whatever, make us a movie, make us, the biggest movie of the year, blank check, as much money as it takes. And his next film was called Heaven's Gate, which
Ooh.
is I have not been able to see yet, because it's hard to find.
Does it have anything? Do you know if it has anything to do with the Heaven's Gate cult?
Wait, was it Heaven's Gate? It has nothing to do with the Heaven's Gate cult.
Okay.
I believe it's Heaven's Gate. Will you look up
Yeah.
Heaven's Gate movie real quick? But that is basically his next film, and he was kind of given a blank check, and he's a very like, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
so that is it.
1980 Western.
Yeah, it's a Western, starring Chris Christopherson, if you know who that is.
That name is really familiar.
I could talk about him in a minute because he's got an interesting story as well. But in this film, basically, he went over budget like immediately. Like he built this town where the set is, just in the middle of nowhere. Like not instead of using a pre-built set like a lot of westerns. Nope, built his own little town, and
Hey, when you got an infinite budget.
showed up on set and was like, let's make it 5 feet wider. And so deconstruct these buildings, move them 5 feet back.
God.
And I had heard, just learned recently that maybe he was owner of the land that this was on, and he was paying himself to rent the land. So maybe there was a little bit of conflict of interest there. But the film went way over budget. And he also insisted that it has this like sepia type filter over it, which was very unpopular in the movie theaters. And I mean the whole thing bombed. It was incredibly expensive. Like it was one of the biggest bombs, at least at the time. And ever since then, it kind of seems like you don't really get these blank check director, budgets anymore. Because, I mean, the guy struck lightning, but doesn't mean it's going to strike the same place twice.
Right.
And he's made some other films, but nothing quite as, successful as The Deer Hunter. And, yeah, man, the Deer Hunter's great. I can't wait to break that down.
I'm so down for that because I did a run of watching every single iteration of The Mummy, which is like 13 or more films. Started way back in...
There's 13 mummies?
Yeah, so it started way back in like... I think the first film was... It's like... The number 1928 is sticking in my head, but it might be 1932. But there's 5 different series of The Mummy. You've got the original run, which is part of Universal's Classic Monsters. And then you've got an 80s one, which was where they kind of started to embrace nudity a little bit in films. There's also one from the, I want to say 60s, and then you've got the 90s with Brendan Fraser. And then you have that reboot that they tried to do in 2019 with oh god damn it, what's his name, the Scientologist actor,
Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise, yeah, you have Tom Cruise, which totally bombed, and there's a new one coming out next year, another reboot of the franchise, and I am so stoked to see what they do this time with it. But it's kind of funny. The second or the third, I think it's the third series of the Mummy movies. The first film is basically just tearing apart and rebuilding 3 of the films from the first series and putting it into one movie, and it's like, this one's kind of unnecessary, it wasn't very good. But I did a multi
like a retcon?
Not really. It was it's a reboot, also, but also not considered a successor. It's not a reboot and it's not a successor. There's no clear definition of like what that series is actually supposed to be. Yeah. So and then of course you have all the TV shows, multitudes of video games, comic books, all sorts of things. When I started getting into it, like I knew that I love Brendan Fraser's the 90s Mummy movies. Obsessed with those. Those were one of my favorites growing up. And when I started getting into this, I was like, oh, I'd love to do a rewatch of the Mummy movies. And I started doing my research, and I was like, oh my God, there are so many more Mummy movies than I could have possibly anticipated. and so it turned into a multi-part series. And I like really loved getting to break it down and just share all my thoughts and notes and critiquing all the different movies. So yeah, definitely down for us to come back and do a skinning of the deer episode. I think
The Deer Hunter.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be a play on words, right? Because you skin the deer, but instead you're skinning the deer hunter.
Yeah, love it. Love it.
I had no idea there was so much surrounding the Mummy.
Yeah.
There's games?
Yeah, there's multiple games. Most of them, no, all of them, almost all of them are based on Brendan Fraser's Mummy series. There's a couple that are based on the Tom Cruise ones, but the Tom Cruise games did very, very, very bad because obviously the movie was not good. Yeah.
What's a movie that scarred you?
Scarred me? I mean, I kind of feel like Killer Clowns is there because like that was like the first horror movie I got to watch at a time where I was like as a kid, even you've seen Gremlins, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was so sheltered as a kid that Gremlins took me like 4 tries to get through because my mom just didn't let me watch, anything remotely scary. And so by the time I got to watch Gremlins, I think I was maybe like 11 or something. I was like, oh, this is fucking terrifying. No, thank you. So actually I'm going to say Gremlins because it was so hard to get through. And then once I finally watched it all the way through, I was like, I think I was maybe like 14 or 15 when I watched the full thing finally, and I was like, well, that wasn't so scary. Yeah, so I would say either Killer Clowns because I have so many memories of like, oh my god, but like I'll say Gremlins or Hills Have Eyes. Yeah, so
that's on my list.
My mom really likes Hills Have Eyes. And she doesn't know this, and she's about to find out when she listens to this podcast. But my room was situated right behind the living room, and my mom would send me to bed whenever she wanted to watch a horror movie. And I remember peeking out, through my door and watching Hills Have Eyes, and I remember my heart just racing when that series was on, and I'd have to like look away a few times. That was my first like true like horror movie, I think. And
rough start.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean I remember them being like good films. My definition of good, at least.
I don't even know if I'd call it good, but it was definitely traumatizing.
Yeah.
Like it made an impact. That was. I mean, the rape scene in, I don't know if it was number 1 or number 2.
I can't
and there's an even older one, I think, that I haven't seen.
Oh, really?
But, yeah, no, that movie was traumatizing.
Oh, yeah.
So awful. I definitely, like, couldn't show my girlfriend that. Like, it's hard enough for me to get her to watch anything before 2000, but, dude, that's not what I'm rushing for.
My wife does not enjoy these movies. Another reason I was very excited to talk to you about these because she won't do these movies. She hates them. She doesn't think any of these are good. And I'm like, oh, you don't understand. Like these are like one of my all-time. This is probably my number 1 favorite movie ever. Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the 8th Dimension. Have you seen it?
No, but you've told me about it, and I know I went to look it up. I'm not sure if I found a place to watch it or not, but. And I think since you brought it up to me 2 years ago, I heard something relating to it.
Yeah, Amazon was in early talks, or might still be in early talks of finding a way to reboot it or give it a show. I would be surprised if it ever sees the light of day because it is a very niche film, but it is an absurd film because the character Buckaroo Banzai is kind of like the guy who's going to save the world from these aliens from the 8th dimension or whatever, and he's got this like posse of friends that are just like total oddballs across the world. There's like these weird looking cowboy, and this is all like takes place in like modern day as in like the 80s. But there's like these cowboys, there's these like weird scientists, and there's like the kid brigade, and there's just a total assortment of just like oddballs of society that are his posse, and they're all there to help him out and stuff. And great movie. It also has a couple of big actors in it. I'm trying to remember. Have you seen What is that Bigfoot movie? It's a comedy. Shoot.
The Henderson? Harry
Harry and the Hendersons. The dad in it. He's in that movie as he's the bad guy in the film, which is odd choice for him to play as the evildoer or whatever. But I guess he's not necessarily like evildoer, but he is one of the main antagonists. Great movie. Okay, some other favorites because I got to list these. Trimmers.
Tremors.
Love that series.
They said Tremors,
no.
Clippers. I've seen one of the Tremors movies, and I was pretty young, so I don't have a lot of recollection of it. But I remember sandworms standing on top of a building.
Yeah, couldn't touch the ground because they kind of did the vibration thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like
Dune.
Dune, yeah, like Dune. And that was the first movie, and then in the sequels, like the worms start to evolve and they become like different species. So they like. Each movie, they're like, okay, the heroes beat us by doing this, so how can we evolve the monster to counteract that one? And so, like, eventually they, like, learn to fly and stuff, and there's, like, by the end of the series, you got a bunch of different versions. And it's got Kevin Bacon in the first movie, I think. And there's even, like, I think the third one, they're like, okay, let's go back to like the 1800s and do an old western with the Tremors monsters. Nice. And it's like, what the hell is this, And there was even a TV show they did, but there's like one actor, the gun nut from the first movie. He's like the main actor as the series like progresses. He's like the only one who wants to come back and do all these movies because he just loves it or whatever. And there's like one movie like
the guy from
where they
Evil
learn,
Dead.
yeah, where they the one in Mexico, they like call him down like, we've got these monsters, and that's where they introduce the flying ones.
I know a guy.
Yeah, it's exactly it. I know a guy, and he's like, I've dealt with these things before, and then he's like, oh my god, they learned to fly, we're dead, we're all dead, we can't survive. God, such a good movie.
You really like Tremors that much? I'll give it another shot.
Yeah.
Because it's been a long time.
That is a movie that actually traumatized my wife when she was a kid, and I cannot get her to even consider watching that movie again. And I'm like, you don't understand. As an adult, it won't be scary. It'll just be funny. And she's like, nope. I am traumatized from my childhood on this movie. And then there's Stargate.
I like Stargate.
Yeah, Stargate, love it. I don't think it's quite a cult film.
No.
I wouldn't say it is. I think it has a cult following, but I'm not sure that the original 80s movie with Kurt Russell, I wouldn't call it a cult film necessarily, but everything that came out of it, I would say, has a hardcore cult following.
It's very iconic and like prolific. Like I was saying earlier, I really enjoy getting and understanding references whenever they occur.
Yeah.
And this became very prominent to me in one of my last relationships. I was dating a woman who was 6 years younger than me. And I really just don't see eye to eye in a lot of things with the modern generation. And we would, say, be watching Family Guy. And, there'd be whatever cutaway, whatever reference, they do something.
Yeah.
They make a funny, and she would laugh. Mm-hmm. And I would know the reference, and I would know in my mind, she doesn't know what the hell this is. She doesn't know what they're talking about. She doesn't know why this is funny. And so sometimes I would test her. Maybe that's why we didn't last.
You don't say?
I could give a million reasons. But, she would just be hitting the rhythms. The laugh track's rolling, so I need to laugh. But I would ask if she even knew what she was laughing about, and she's like, "Well, I guess not. It's a funny. It's funny." And that just drove me up a wall because it's like, but do you know why it's funny? And for that reason, like that's how I am. Is I gotta watch all the things, or if I see an episode of Family Guy and there's a reference I don't understand, boom, I gotta go figure out, what's the lore behind this? Why is this funny?
I think Family Guy is the perfect series for someone like you, of like someone who's interested in finding out the references and stuff to that, because there is so many references built in that every episode of that show. It just gives you an infinite list of like other movies and media to go and consume and try to understand things a little bit deeper. And I think that's something I'm just realizing now. It's something I really, really appreciate about Family Guys. Those writers put in some serious work in trying to like fit in these different references to like other movies they've seen, obviously, and stuff like that. So I think that's a great series for someone like you.
Well, I'm willing to bet $5 that South Park nailed it on the head when they said how Family Guy makes their show with the manatees putting the subjects, all into a random assortment. But because they probably do just have like a giant list of references, cutaways, things, just ready to roll in the production. But if there was a Stargate all of a sudden on the show, like, bam, if you know Stargate, like, you know exactly what that is. It's not just a portal. It's the actual construction of it, or Imagination Land, the South Park special, obviously direct play on Stargate. But if you hadn't seen Stargate, you wouldn't understand, you would just see a portal, especially with Rick and Morty these days. Portal's a portal, right?
Yeah.
Hole's a hole. I just love to understand the references.
Which I could say, I that's something I'm going to say as a person I appreciate, because I don't know if I've ever heard anyone else ever say that, like they see a reference and they just want to understand it and they go and consume that media to understand it. I don't think I've ever heard of someone else being interested in that before. So I would say that's something I appreciate you as a person. So
and it's funny because I was ragging on my degree earlier about the how it's a journalism degree, but I don't want to be a journalist. But I actually do appreciate that was what I studied, because I carry those traits in a lot of things. So I really like to know what I'm talking about before I talk about something, or even when I'm doing something. I need to know everything about it before I can do it well. And that appreciation, though, also plays on like music, for example. When I was in high school, and I started listening to rap, my favorite songs were all diss tracks. And I would need to know, like, what is he talking about right there? What is he referring to right here? And, I would actually just go on Wikipedia and just be reading, like, the biographies of these rappers, or trying to find out, like, what the beef was, so that I understood the lyrics. Because otherwise, you're listening to Hit 'Em Up by Tupac, and you're like, man, this thing's, this is a hard-hitting song, but you might not really understand exactly what he's talking about in every line. But that's what's so cool about it, is he's actually talking about something. He's not just talking about girls, guns, drugs. He's referring to specific things. Or 50 Cent, the man's been shot so many times. When he talks about stuff in his songs, he's actually talking about, real danger, street life. And if he is referring to another rapper, it's a potentially serious threat. Like, even Eminem lately, I've been learning more about, discovering a couple tracks that I'd never heard of, because they probably weren't a part of a big album, but understanding the beefs that were going on between him and various people. And the moral of that story is, you don't mess with Eminem. And so, I just really like to understand what it is that I'm appreciating, not just hitting the beats of, okay, now I laugh, like an episode of Seinfeld or something. Have you ever seen Brazil?
I don't think so. I don't think I've ever heard of it.
It's a very odd film. I typically put it on when I'm consuming herbal substances that have been known to grow under cow patties. That was the most recent time I watched it. At least I was showing it to my brother, and it's just such a strange film. It's Robert De Niro. I honestly don't even know how to describe it other than the elements of it, which would be like dystopian, futuristic, and a big play on pointing out the absurdities of bureaucracy and overdoing bureaucracy. Because the premise of the movie is that, a fly gets into a room and it gets crushed in a typewriter and it causes a typo. And because of that one typo, it causes a whole chain of, things to take place in the back end of the bureaucracy, ultimately causing a man to be just yanked out of his home on Christmas Day by like a SWAT team. And, while his traumatized family is just standing there, they're like, all right, and sign here, ma'am. And she's basically signing away her husband, and then poof, they're gone. There's a hole in the ceiling where they came in through. And it's all just a mistake. It's all just like an accident, something that wasn't supposed to happen. And the protagonist is some guy, embroiled in the bureaucracy, and he's like lacklusterly trying to get to the bottom of it because, I don't know, just because he has to, but he doesn't really care because it's just such a complex government that it's like, nothing really gets done. Things just happen, and then the repercussions of it. But anyways, and there's just a lot of like weird stuff that goes on in it, and so I'd recommend Brazil. You don't necessarily have to be under the influence of anything, but it's an interesting one for sure. I can't remember what year it is. I want to say it's 70s or 80s probably though. Yeah.
Have you been to the Moscow Cult Film Fest?
No.
Ooh.
There's a cult film fest in Moscow?
Yeah. So, it plays at the theater downtown.
Oh, I never went there.
Oh, dude, yeah, great theater. And the guy who organized it and created it, actually, he worked for U of I, and he was the speaker at Bike to Boise dinner. Oh God, was it 2022 or 2023? He was a guy from Farmhouse, but he puts it on every year, and he's got a whole committee that does it now, and they go all out. Like, have you seen The Room?
I have actually.
Yeah, so like even for like the Cult Film Festival, they give everyone like a handful of spoons to like throw at the screen or at each other in that film, because that's like one of the things to do in that movie. But yeah, if you happen to be in Moscow and they're doing the Cult Film Fest, definitely check it out. It's super cheap, and it's purely put on just for fun, and they show really obscure, weird films, like
does it take place over a period of time? Like,
yeah, so it's like I think it's a week long, or like or spread out over 2 weeks, and they do like 5 different films. And and usually it's a pretty full theater, but it's not too hard, I think, to get tickets. And like I said, they're pretty cheap. But if you were to put on a cult film festival, I want to know what, like, let's say 5 films would you show that would be a good, like a cult film festival.
5 films?
I'll give you time to think, because I got mine. So I would start off doing something in the 80s, and I think Lost Boys would be where I would want to start. And then moving into the 90s with Tremors, 2000s with Tropic Thunder, and then like I think I would end it with my all-time favorite, Buckaroo Banzai, of course. Every single time when you go to the Cult Film Festival, they ask you, what movie would you like to see? And every single time I went, I was like, Buckaroo Banzai, Buckaroo Banzai, Buckaroo Banzai. And then I was talking to the founder, and we were talking about cult films, and I mentioned, he's like, you're the one who keeps telling me to do Buckaroo Banzai. And I was like, yes, I am. Please, for the love of God, do it. He's like, I'll think about it. I was like, son of a bitch. And he never did. I was like, son of a bitch.
Had he seen it?
He hadn't, no.
Oh, okay. So you're like, he's like, oh my gosh, this guy's really a fan of the obscure. Well, cult films, because it's such a.
Well, how about this? I'll just open it up to any any 4 or 5 films that you would put in like even just like these weird odd films that we've been talking about. What would you put as the lineup?
Have you ever seen The Manchurian Candidate?
No.
It stars Frank Sinatra.
Oh.
It's one of my favorite movies, and I would probably put that in any lineup, especially if you were going for like a spread of time, like as far as when they were released. because I looked it up last night. It's a 62.
Oh.
So it's black and white. And then again, Frank Sinatra, he did a little bit of acting. And he actually not too bad of an actor for, being a crooner, a musician. And that one is a really, really cool movie. One of the ones that kind of makes you think. I feel like I might not even understand completely all of the elements at work there. Like, it was very, like when you say, it's not that deep. I think that movie was that deep. I would highly recommend The Manchurian Candidate because it has a lot to do with mind control, because that was like a really big theme and concern in the Cold War.
Oh, yeah.
Is, the development of, moving past the mysticism of like the Nazis, right, into more like modern, okay, CIA versus KGB, like what can we do? Mind control was like, on everyone's topics. There's so many films from that era actually that have to do with mind control, and it like touches on like sleeper cell agents, and there's politics kind of in the sense that there's like an election taking place, and which candidates serve which powers, that be, like lots of conspiracies and stuff, and it's really just an interesting film that kind of makes you think about like who, it makes you think about modern day, and who are they really serving when it comes to looking at really just anything political, and so I would highly recommend The Manchurian Candidate. I recently watched all the Bond films.
Oh, I've been wanting to watch like start to finish all the Bond films.
I think okay, not all of them. I was going in chronological order, starting from the beginning, and I do like Sean Connery. And so I stopped maybe just before the modern ones, like one or two films before that. But the third Bond film is one of my favorite movies. And I would probably put that in the lineup because it is a bit older, so probably 70s, I would guess. It's called Thunderball. You haven't seen that one?
Mm-mm.
There, it's, at the end of the day, it's a James Bond movie. It's a spy movie. There's gadgets, there's girls, there's, all the regular James Bond elements. But and then a lot of times the movies will have a theme, like this time he's in the snow. This time he's in Rome. This time he's in Russia. This time he's all over the world. Well, Thunderball was very wet. There's a lot of water in it. And lots of cool shots, like involving like real sharks, for example. And so if you're watching it and kind of looking at the meta of it, you can put yourself in, into the thought of like, wow, that's actually a guy in a tank with a shark. Like, that's kind of dangerous. That's a dangerous set. Like, they're really taking some risks. There's no CGI in this. This is some adventurous filmmaking for sure. And, there's even a James Bond where he's in space, right? Well, in Thunderball, it like hit a climax of absurdity for me when there's this big fight scene at the end, and the bad guys are underwater using those like self-propelling things that scuba divers and Navy SEALs and stuff will use. It's like a little individual submarine kind of, except you're not in it. It's just propelling.
You can like hold on to it and it just propels the water.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And
looks almost like a missile.
Yeah, and they're off to do some bad thing, detonate a bomb, whatever it be. And the good guys, which is probably the Coast Guard or Navy SEALs or something like that, alongside Bond, are going to intercept them. And so they fly in, and this is all just like in the middle of the ocean. They fly in on helicopters, jump out of the helicopters, and then intercept the bad guys. And then all of a sudden there's this huge fight scene, all taking place underwater.
I need to get started on the James Bond movies. This sounds great.
Yeah, and I mean, when you really, like put it into perspective compared to like modern filmmaking, where, half of this is going to be digital, it's on a fake set, and just cutting corners wherever you can. They really like spared no expense when it came to those films, and so it's just really absurd to have it in the back of your mind while you're watching it that you're like, oh my gosh, there's like 20 people on screen right now, all like fighting underwater. Like this must have been so incredibly expensive to make, dangerous no less, to film, and it's just so funny, and it was cool. It was also cool. So Thunderball I would put on there. So what did I say? So Manchurian Candidate, Thunderball. I would probably throw Deer Hunter in there. I guess I might as well just stick with the decades at this point.
Yeah.
So 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Trying to think if Office Space was...
Ooh, that's 90s.
Was it 90s? Or it might have been 2000s.
2000. Let's see.
So that'll be my 2000s.
Oh, 1999.
1999.
Yeah.
Oh, so just barely. Yeah, Office Space is just a classic. I mean, I love Mike Judge. Anything he does. Idiocracy.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the themes of it just...
Yeah, Mike
ever
Judge,
more
what
relevant.
a fucking guy. What a guy.
What a guy. King of the Hill's coming back.
I know, yeah.
And so for 2000s, I don't know what I would have, but I think that's 4 right there.
Good enough.
I think that's a pretty good start.
We're at an hour.
Are we?
And I think we could easily keep going. So here's the thing. I got one more question for you and we're going to wrap it up.
Okay.
Have you ever wanted to make your own movie?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. We should talk.
Okay. Yeah, I have an idea for a story, because I at the end of the day I really like stories, and so I don't know and Fonzie and I even talk about how we want to make something, and so I don't know what the best medium for this story would be, whether it's a video game, a movie, a book,
Audio drama, maybe.
audio drama. What is this, the 50s?
Hey, man, I love audio dramas. I love them. I'm about them.
But yeah, no, it's a revenge story.
Okay.
And I don't know if I want to give away the other thing, or else
Oh, no, keep
someone
it.
else might try
Yeah.
to steal this idea.
We'll talk off mic.
Yeah.
All right, that's it. Johnny, thank you so much for being here. I always let everyone plug something that they want to plug. So if you have another movie on your list that you want to tell people to watch, you could do that now. It's been a whole hour of us recommending movies, but it doesn't have to be a movie. Anything you'd want to plug.
Yeah, I got 4.
Okay.
If you're looking for something ridiculous, Twins. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny DeVito, and they're twins. That's all I'm gonna say. It's silly.
I think I've seen that one, or at least I've seen part of it, because I remember those two acting next to each other in a weird. It's an 80s or 90s, isn't it?
Probably 80s. Yeah.
80s, yeah. Okay, I think I might have seen part of it, but go on.
When I was in college, I used to, if someone walked in the room and they're like, "What are you watching?" I used to explain the plot of Twins and tell them, but then just adapt it to whatever I was watching. I was like, so this black woman and this white guy right here are actually twins, and they're searching for their, and then I would just leave it, at the basic premise and let them sit there for 10 minutes trying to figure out how that's possible and what any of that, because whatever's on screen would be completely different from what I described. And so I used to kind of do that. If you're looking for something really, really obscure and maybe even a little hard to find, really, really only for the adventurous, Holy Mountain. I've not successfully completed this movie. It is very strange. Very artistic. It's hard to watch, but I am compelled to finish it one of these days, because anytime I watch it, you're just like, what the heck was that? So Holy Mountain is pretty crazy. Screwed is a Norm Macdonald film, and I'm a huge Norm Macdonald fan, so I recommend Screwed. It's on YouTube. Norm Macdonald and Dave Chappelle, actually.
Oh.
Not the greatest movie, but I mean, I love Norm. If if anyone who listens to this is a Norm fan, they're going to want to watch it, because it wasn't in a whole lot of films as a leading actor. And then Dave Chappelle, always funny. And then also on YouTube, I don't think either of that one or this one is free, but I like buying movies on there because sometimes you just can't find them anywhere else, and you get subtitles. Wizards. It's an animated film. Have you seen Wizards?
I know, but it's on like top of the list of weird movies I want to watch.
Yeah, it's cool.
I've seen a lot of clips of it, and it looks so good.
It's a good time. I enjoy Wizards. That is one that I would also recommend. And I think that was 4.
All right. Well, I'll plug the Sharknado series. Big fan of that terrible movie franchise. So good though. That's it. I'll see you next week.